Producing Music Podcast with Mark Dollar and Cooper Anderson.
So this is my mix template. Now, if you search through, there's all these tracks and all these different colors that we see. I figure the first thing I talk about is just my color template because it saves pretty specific. So one thing about Pro Tools is that when you load in tracks, they come in this particular color right here. So instead of coloring my tracks, I don't color the tracks at all. I just color everything else around it. So for instance, this track right here is that nominal blue. But all the other tracks have meaning and other things to it. So the purple section is my center section. It's just for when I'm like zipping around, going like this, back and forth, back and forth. I need to find my template section, and it's right there. And that's the only pretty much color that it is and of such. I used to, but I feel like the wide meters take up more video resource. Yeah, because I used to get way more CPU errors because I had the wide meters. I it doesn't I love the wide meters. Um but I think I use, what do I use? I'm on digital VU. I used to use K12, but I found out my mixers are coming in a little too loud. So I stick with a digital VU, and that seems to work for me because I do see a more realistic thing in the RMS information, um, and it's fast. You can also slow it down too if you want, in the settings and stuff. So yeah, my master section is purple. All of the terminals to which receive um, audio tracks are red or oxes. So for instance, this is all of my drum section. We'll get back to my center section in a second. Um, and all of my VCAs are in blue. So as you go along, you'll see all these like little VCAs in different places. And as you start to mix, even while you have like 1,000 tracks in the session, as you start to mix, you could just fly around, fly around, fly around, move around a bunch, and you know exactly where all these VCAs are. Um, Now, in my vocal tempo in particular, I usually I keep these template tracks for the lead vocal and the background vocals, which are usually teal and this is orange. The reason why is because they're routed in particular ways. Now, I'll explain that to you in a second, but let me just continue to go over the coloring. So as you go through, my reverbs, okay, the only thing that's kind of purple is this Vox filter section. I'll explain that. Um, but my reverbs are in green and this like very dark, almost maroon purple or brown. It kind of looks brown on my screen right now. But these are my delays. So yeah, everything has like a VCA that's kind of native to it. The reason why I have all these VCAs laid around, like for instance, let's say I'm working on my drums. Like if I'm working on my drums and some vocals come up that I may want to hear or not want to hear, I don't have to go all the way over here to my vocal section. I can just go to this VCA section that I have right here. So like the drums will be on the same screen right here, but if the vocals, I want to turn the vocal down or turn it back on, I could easily just hit that and all the vocals are off. Oh, yeah. I can also turn off my guitars in that same point. I have a bass VCA right here. If I just want to turn off my verbs, I could turn off my verbs right there. If I just want to turn off my effects, or like whatever delays, I could turn all this stuff off via all these VCAs. So that just kind of keeps me in this section right here, unless I'm working on very specific vocals. which I kind of like because I'm not surfing around the screen so much. All right, so yeah, that's my color template. So I keep that the same again because Pro Tools will just bring it in blue, no matter what. And if you lose your preferences, it'll go back to being blue. So instead of that, I just have these colors, and they help me separate what I'm looking at very fast. Um, yeah. So what I would do, yeah, yeah, just mostly oxes. There's like again, there. If I'm working, I did this for my production template to have these two bass tracks in here, and again, for these vocal tracks, these are like template tracks. So what I'll do is, um, I'll I'll clean up. I'll do a prep session for the mix that I'm working on, and in that, and when I finish that prep session, I'll get rid of all of the IOs. I'll get rid of all the buses, and I'll bring this in with everything involved, and then I'll sprinkle them all these tracks around to where they're in. I'll start to route them. Now, when I get to yeah, so when the vocals yeah, exactly. So when I bring the vocals in, I just drag these vocals onto the tracks, and if I need more of these, I just duplicate them, and then so because in here I can't show you, but I route and like to these terminals a different way than I do my effects. If you realize, if you look on my sends here, there's no actual like aux sends like sends to auxes, only effects. I use the Mave Fader sends to send to the auxes all together, even all the parallel. So for instance, on this vocal channel, it goes to, this is what I like to call my vocal section. Um, and where it'll go to, and I picked this up from Andrew Sheps. So don't think that this is just something I came up with. This is actually a little bit from the Andrew Sheps mix template that I got, and I just kind of worked on it myself. So the purpose of his mix template was that you would send these vocals to the lead vox bus right here, and then you will also send it here, which both of these will go to the lead vox sum bus right here, where the vocals will finally end up. Now, at first I didn't dig that, but I actually love that now. I'm gonna show you why. Because when I'm doing all my vocal automations are here. So I see all those vocals. I'm up on top. I have all of my vocal, effects right here. So if I need to write automations, I could easily see those, go through that list, go create the automations, and it's just right there. I just love that. Like, because I don't know if if I ever told you this, but I hate doing automation. Like I hate it. I just get so lazy in the process, that I just had to find a way to do it and to make it really easy for me. So this is one of the ways that I made it really easy for me. I have this kind of section logged out for the background section as well, and also this filter sum section. We'll get into that, why I have this particular section. These are also the other audio channels that I have in here. What these channels are, to explain them really quick, let's say I'm working on a vocal, I'm like, hey, I need more distortion. I just literally cut that vocal and I drag it down to any one of these, which are different distortions. And I just drag it down, and I either audition it. If I like it, if I don't like it, I'll move it to the next one. I'll move it to the next one. If I like it, I'll just keep that duplicate there, and that's like how I do some parallel vocal effects really fast. Um, yeah, but just kind of using this as an idea, I could start here because these are two audio tracks that are in here. So I'm using my main fader sends. You can't see them because I'm recording. To go, of course, to lead Vox, lead Pultec, which I'll explain in a minute. This is Vox Space Tight, Voxdyne Bright. Now these are all parallel from those tracks. And they all get some, well, with the exception of this, because this is technically a parallel channel, the phase will get weird. With the exception of that, all of this stuff runs into lead Vox some, which gives me a complete vocal sound. Another thing that I've taken from the, the Andrew Shep's mix template is the Voxdyne SVC, which is his like stereo vocal compression, which is he basically just slams a vocal inside of a dual mono CLA 1176 to basically get like the incomplete parts of the vocal sound to just help it to like create a bigger vocal sound. So those things run into, this is another parallel channel that goes straight to my router bus. We'll talk about that in a second, but I'm just trying to get the chain together because that would make the most sense here. So that goes to something called Vox, which Vox is over here. Now, the vocals are separate from the music because I don't want my compression of my vocals to interfere with the compression of the music. I don't ever like that. That's something I learned. I rather the music just kind of do its own thing. I set compression for the music itself, and then the vocals run to a channel all by itself before it gets processed together into router send. So router send is where the music and the vocals meet up for the first time. And that way I get to process it in whatever way. I have some particular plugins here. There's the TG mastering strip. And sometimes I'll use the LinEQ broadband just to fix any EQ things. And then I have two print tracks. As you see, the Vox goes from Vox to router, router to router send, and then there's two print tracks. One is my master, unmastered. This is usually the unmastered version, and this is the mastered version. I'm typically always working off the mastered version. I get started, when I start mixing, I work off the mix version just because I want to hear how the mix actually and all the instruments actually sound. But as I get more and more into the mix, I'm primarily only listening to the band print master, which is this track here. And when I finish, I just turn those two tracks on and, I go ahead and hit record and I bounce those out, send the client. The same thing happens to the music. Now, a key thing, this is an older mix template. My mix template now is a little bit more simpler than this, as I've actually technically gotten rid of this bus, and there's only like two buses here, but I'll still explain this. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I used to use a straight up drum bus. This is like the straight where every drum would run into it. But as I started working on rock and producing metal, I stopped doing that. The reason why is because when you start like putting a lot of kicks and a lot of snares in, you're going to beat the crap out of your toms and your overheads and your rooms. So I just don't want the cymbals to be compressed by the kick and the snare in the toms as well. So they usually go straight to the master bus themselves. If I didn't have these two things here, I can actually get rid of them for right now. I actually can't, but can I hide them? No, I can't hide them. But yeah, if these two weren't here, this would go straight to the music bus. Kick and snare would go straight to the music bus. Overheads would go straight to the music bus. Toms would go straight to the music bus. Rooms would go straight to the music bus. And then I would have these two additional parallel channels called the infamous drum bus fuck and drum bus verb, which is always cool for like overheads and creating extra space really fast. Those things are actually pretty much when the mix is on, those are on. I don't touch them. I don't even look at them throughout the entire mix. Um, I have like templated things for the kick and the snare. I could talk about those really fast. I like the Kramer HLS on kick drums sometimes. I, of course, use Pro Q2 or 3 for whichever type of, corrective things. I love Pawn Shop Comp by Cornef Audio for kick drums. Just a touch, a half a decibel of gain reduction just transforms the kick drum into this dull kind of sterile thing to a kick with tons of character, and it has tons of actually I want to show this to you, Cooper, because I know you love it. I'm just going to stop my thing for a second so I can show this to you. Because I really want to actually. Waiting for it to load. Hopefully it doesn't crash over here or something.
I have a question after that.
Cool. So yeah, what am I doing? Okay, cool. That's fine. All right, so let me go back on record here. All right, so yeah, this is Pawn Shop Comp, and I love this. I mean, again, like, there's tons of compressors out here, but one thing I love about this, and he just put out another compressor today too, is he has his back section, and where obviously you have your input output controls. He allows you to change the caps, which is really cool, and they do give you different sounds. So he has 2 caps and 2 resistors that you can choose from. He has a bias section that goes by voltage, a preamp section, and a tone section that just kind of retroactively works as like a sidechain detector of a sort for like letting more low end or more articulation into the compressor. But I'm telling you, it feels analog as all hell. I love it on kick drum, and for bass, there's like a lot of great settings in here, all that stuff. But you had a question.
It was not related to this.
Okay, well, go for it.
So it's about your VCAs. So the VCAs, I see they're assigned to groups, but I don't see any tracks assigned to any groups. So are you just like, how do you do that? Do you just assign the groups?
The only yeah, so these VCAs right here, these are actually very specific to this. So as you can see, this is drums complete. So as opposed to like, I want to just turn my drums down, I just use that VCA to turn all these down. Because as you know, if I just turn out my drum bus natural or my drum bus sum, and I don't turn down my drum bus, parallel, my verb, those things are going to stay loud, but I just lost a bit of drums. Yeah, controlling from the VCA. This is the drum aux VCA that controls all of the instrument terminals. So yeah, yeah. Well, the only one that doesn't have a group is this one right here. Now, once I bring all the drums in, there's usually a group that goes with those drums, and I just select that group for the drums, and then I can that VCA will just control that. This one will always control this because these are just multi tracks. Like for instance, I'm multing the bass. Like this might just be a clean DI. This might be distortion. So it's good to have these grouped like that. Same thing with the guitar complete. Yeah, I don't know how that got over here. Let me just move this back. But yeah, it doesn't have to move. It doesn't matter. But yeah, that controls this. I have, again, aux is for like the vocal verbs and the effects. That actually controls that one VCA right there. This is all the parallel compression and the verbs. So this one, just takes care of all of that. Vox main is just all the, this is supposed to control all the lead vocal final terminal auxes and stuff like that. It's just really cool ways to turn stuff down quicker, because sometimes my revisions the most are just turn this up, turn that down. But you know how that can get, you turn some down, then your balance doesn't feel too good because there might have been something else that you had to turn down. So I just, have all of these, and they really help me on the revision process. They really seriously do. I as annoying as they might look in this, they severely help me in my revision process.
Gotcha. I just realized the Twitch is kind of bugging out on recording this track for some reason. Wait, let me just fix this. Oh no, now it's going again. Okay.
Cool.
No, it was just it wasn't capturing the right window or something. Now it looks.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. So yeah, I mean, I was just talking
full screen mode for some reason.
Cool. Yeah, I was just talking about some of the auxes, but the plugins on the auxes. But a lot of this stuff might change, to be honest with you. Like now, it's my Chef's Omni channel and Pawn Shop Comp sometimes it's CLA. So that's why I'm not even trying to talk about them as much. But the main things that do work for me on these particular buses is, like, for instance, Pawn Shop Comp. It's great on snare as well. Saturn helps to get me to get a brighter thing without it being too scathed, or it might help me to shave off some of that high attacky kind of stuff on the drums, and then I might end up with a clipper on either the kick or snare drum just to kind of get a little bit more thwack and stuff like that. Overheads, I keep it super simple with a CLA compressor. That's usually medium to fast attack, fast-ish release. And then I actually learned this. This is the TG12345. I learned this from the Eric Valentine tutorial. He likes to use this for, his overheads. And what he does is he just turns the limiter on and just blends in the mix knob to taste. And what it does is it just pushes the overheads forward, and it gives them more articulation and stuff like that. And I go between that. But Cooper, you blessed me a few months ago with the Phil's Cascade
by Elysia.
I thought you were gonna talk about Phil, our friend Phil.
No, no. But Phil's Cascade, that plugin by Elysia, which is really good for cymbals. Like, if I almost just put that on and nothing else,
nice.
Like a high pass in that, and it's like the cymbals are contained and beautiful. Toms, we could talk all day about how this would happen.
Yeah, the Phil's Cascade, that's a really weird plugin, because that one was like, they built hardware to be modeled.
Yeah. It's kind of...
Yeah, they built the hardware specifically to model it and make a plugin out of it. Like, there's no actual hardware unit available for that.
If you've ever seen the Elysia, what is it, the studio tour on the White Sea studio channel, those dudes ain't got nothing but time. But yeah, check that out one day.
They have some good stuff. No, I love their the MusiQ. It's one of my favorites.
Yeah, those are some great ones. I like using the Arouser, which is the Empirical Labs version of their distressor, on rooms. I think it sounds really great. For bass, I usually do a low channel, high channel, which is a clean low end DI. And then there is a distorted thing. Sometimes I add more distortion on another channel just to get more gritty with the guitars. I don't know why this happened. I'm gonna try to flip it over. I don't think I can switch it because I'm recording. My GAT bus is switched over, but this is my bass bus right here, and where I have a limiter just to kind of get the notes to be even to start. I have some pawn shop comp. I have some C4 to like kind of level out all low end. I do a little bit of corrective stuff with the Pro Q2. And then finally it's just like, just a little bit more corrective with the low, high pass, thing, sometimes 50 Hertz, just to make sure the bass doesn't go over that. For the guitar bus, I have 2 parallel channels for the guitar bus. On the guitar bus, this is another really awesome, Andrew Sheps thing. All he does on the Kramer HLS is just, you could just turn on the circuit by just selecting the EQ frequency, and it will automatically give you a bump, which is really cool. I actually think the Kramer HLS for guitar and rock guitar is actually really good. I have NLS channel on here right now. That's because at the time I was feeling it for guitars. I love the Neve setting, but that changes. I love the Ozone 8 Imager. If I need a little bit more wideness, these wouldn't ever be like this high on a mix. These might come into here. And this is a Joe Barresi thing, and where it's just more distortion. Like, let's say you just need a part to really, really stand out, and it's on a rock guitar. You just add more distortion to it. And in this stomp, I have 2. I can actually show you. Let me just stop it 1 second.
And then I'll go here, let it load. Are you gonna load? Oh, there we go. So yeah, on here I have, let me just get back to recording.
Okay, I'm recording. On here I just have 2 different distortions. This is a fuzz, which, usually goes well with blending more distortion in if you really need more distortion. It just makes the sound of the guitar sound a lot more full. And an overdrive, just in case you need something more scathing. So those are actually fun to use if you feel like, if this is specifically for rock guitar stuff. If you just feel like the guitars that you got were crap and you feel like you need something more, this is a really quick trick to get it to like really work. And on these you can, manipulate the amount of drive and stuff, whatever. But yeah, all these things, all these buses, all this stuff that you see, they land up over here on my instrument router. Now, I'll go ahead and stop one more time because I'll go ahead and pull it up. Well, actually, I don't need to. But this is the SSL bus comp. And I also have the BX Townhouse on here. I usually just flip between those 2 because I'm going to be honest with you, with the SSL bus comp, it just sounds like the SSL. It just, when I turn it on, it sounds like SSL. I don't know how it does it, the actual SSL one. So I use that one a lot when I actually want to hear that sound, because sometimes I just want to hear that sound. It's not even about the compression so much. I just want that sound. But the BX Townhouse, I find that one's kind of beautiful and also more lively in certain ways. When I need to when I really want to slam a mix, and there are times I have gone 8-1 on a mix, and it's actually on my playlist. Not 8-1, but 2-1, but 8 decibels of gain reduction, and it's on my playlist, and it sounds good. Sometimes when you're mixing, and definitely in rock, you're just gonna hit those levels kind of faster than most songs. So yeah, it's good to just have that. Now, I also have this bus here. I haven't talked about this. So this is a master bus for the router. This is literally just a turn up, a turn down thing to influence those 2 compressors. And also there's a tape machine on here. I find that the Ozone vintage tape is the most realistic in terms of that 100 to 50 to 100 hertz bump. I just think it's the most realistic. So this just bumps me into that. Like, let's say if I find that the balances of the mix are good when I bring it in, but it's a little low, it's not hitting the compressor as much, I just bring it up. That's it. But yeah, that is pretty much it. Like I said, I'll do that. I'll do a little bit of EQ on where the instruments and the vocals join up. And then I have a clipper here, which is a T-Rax classic clipper. And I usually end with the Pro L by, FabFilter, either that or one of the more bougie versions of the L3, But that's pretty much my mix template. All of my vocal effects, just to note them, are down out here. So I have all those pretty much routed on here. Like I said, I have all of my, delays already timed out right here. I never know which one I'm going to use. So I already have them already set up. I have a Vox spread, I have a dirty spread, and I have a Vox chorus. The Vox spread is just a little micro shift, and the dirty spread is just a distortion version of the little micro shift. The Vox slap is just a slap delay, and the dirty slap is just a dirty version of that. And I have 3 reverbs. I have a Vox Verb Room, Vox Verb Plate, and Vox Verb Large. And for the Vox Verb Room, I stick pretty native to D-Verb. I have the little plate. I actually love the little plate. I've been loving it because of his character. And yeah. And Valhalla Room is awesome, although the Valhalla Supermassive is just Jesus Christ. I used that on one mix, and it was just like all I really needed because it's way more expressive. I think it's just, try it out on one song. I think you're going to love it. But that's pretty much my mix template, dude. Do you have any questions about it?
No, I mean, it's definitely a lot more in depth than mine. So
yeah, I'm doing a lot more rock and roll, and sometimes, just to have all this stuff kind of blanketed out. Once you get like a rock and roll mix, you're always working on the drums for like at least an hour or so before you start working on anything else. So by the time you get to working on other stuff, you're like, oh man, I'm just kind of tired, So it's like just to have these things here for me, and also to have the amount of control I have over the mix, is super helpful. And again, on the revisions, the VCAs, I'm telling you, they've saved my ass so many times. I can't even tell you, dude. I can't even say.
My life.
For me, I use VCAs all the time too. I don't really have that many of them in my template, but I'm in the same position. Like I'll usually just add them on the fly when I need them, basically. But yeah, I mean, that's kind of the whole point of a template, is to save time and stuff that you're doing repeatedly over and over. You just have it in there so you don't have to.
Yeah, that's pretty much what it is for me, because you know how this shit is. You don't want to be sitting here for hours just building a mix template for a mix,
Even if you spend like, yeah, exactly. If you're, because prepping is like half the job for mixing. And if you can do your template once and then save yourself, half of your prep time, I mean, you've cut your mix time by 25% right there, which means now you're making 25% more money because it takes you less time to do the same work.
Exactly.
It's awesome.
And if you get an intern to do all that setup for you, then then it's even more than that. So yeah, that's the Mark Dollar mix template, which is always ever changing but constant.
That's awesome. Well, I think we pretty much got 2 YouTube videos, maybe even 3 out of this podcast. This was a long one.
I think so too. This is a long one, man. But it was a good one. I feel like we went over a lot of great stuff today, and Coop,
no, for sure.
Word. Well, Producing Music Podcast.
.com.
You guys, producing.com.
Yeah. MarkDollarTemplate.com. Just kidding. There is a $samplepack.com website though.
Yes, there is.
And I know we said we were going to do giveaways, but it's holiday weekend and we still haven't put the Mark Dollar sample pack together. So go to Dollar Sample Pack. Is it $samplepack.com?
I think it's Dollar Sample Pack.
Yeah, $samplepack.com, and sign up for the email, and we will let you know as soon as this thing comes out. $samplepack.com. Yes, Mark Dollar Sample Pack. There it is.
Yes, Dollar Sample Pack. Yes, baby, we're coming to get you.
Yeah. All right, buddy. Till next week.
All right, guys. Well, thank you for hanging. This was a long one, but there's so much goodies in here. So make sure you listen, and we'll catch you on the other side.
Shout out again to Chagrin for joining us in the beginning.
Yeah, Chagrin, you are awesome, man. Thank you for joining us on our podcast. You are amazing, and I look forward to listening to your new record.
I'm about to put it on right now.
Me too.
All right, buddy. I will talk to you later.
Peace, guys.